trust no government today. Now, even after the massacre of over 10,000 students in China, over 85% Chinese still trust their Communist Party and their government. You can check there and find there. How is this so? Let us look at this issue of trust no government at all. You may think that maybe there is a type of government that is trustworthy. Let's look at this and consider the issue of political spectrum, which you have probably heard where they use the term left wing and right wing in politics or newspaper or any other publication, where left wing is communist and right wing is fascist and there's the center or moderate. The proof anyone can employ as standard to critique whether any government is worth their trust is not in the political ideology, but in the actions of that government. We want to look at these actions under the subtitle PRESTI: political, weapons, economic, social, and technologically. So what we want to look at first and foremost is that when you consider the mandatory vaccinations that are occurring in the world today, is proof that the government is pushing a far left agenda, communism, where you follow instructions and you don't question. Therefore, any government which is pushing such legislation directly or indirectly, overriding free choice and informed consent, is not to be trusted. We are using this criteria PRESTI. If you trust any government now, you could be a victim of one of many of the government's opinion-altering processes called propaganda, which is a high-sounding word for lies. And there are 7 types of lies here. Error, a lie by mistake; omission, leaving out information; restructuring, distorting the context; denial, refusing to acknowledge the truth; minimization, reducing the effects; exaggeration, making something larger; fabrication, inventing a false story. This is all propaganda, which is any form of communication that is designed to influence the opinions, emotions, attitudes, or behavior of any group in order to benefit the sponsor. You got these other media houses that produce information. You get this from this website. The public media shapes our opinions. It is our opinions that eventually forms our beliefs, and it is our beliefs that becomes the fundamental of things that we trust, especially when we think that the government is for us. We think the official news or what officials tell is the truth. Sometimes it is not. Most of the times it is propaganda. If you tell a lie big enough and they keep repeating it, people will eventually come to believe it. This is Joseph Goebbels, and the media uses this, advertisers uses this, salesmen uses this, and salespeople uses this. So using this criteria of the media, which government can you trust today? None. You see, mandatory vaccination is a fact check on the government action or political system, and it proves that this is not new mandatory. It is not worked for voters. Whether you protest, whether you use legal means, whether you go to parliament and put people in parliament you think will continue to protect your freedom of choice, it is clear that the government represents certain secret interests. You read the story here that in 1926, the federal government in the United States poisoned alcohol in an effort to curb alcohol consumption during the Prohibition times. As a result, by the time Prohibition ended in 1933, an estimated 10,000 people died from being poisoned by their own government. Therefore, the government lacks integrity, sincerity, reliability, consistency, commitment, competency, because there is no trust. If you trust the government, you obviously failed history classes. This is Don Freeman who said this. Trust no government even if you voted for it, or fought for it, or died for it. Yes, the title that we have given here is very specific. There is not even one government we should trust on earth today. The most important premise from all this, and the most important conclusion, however, is what can you do about this? So follow us up to the conclusion where we will suggest what you can do about all this. Do you trust experts supported by government or by big bodies, as we have already seen? when ethical issues are said should be subsumed for the benefit of the majority. That overrides even your informed consent. Have you ever heard of Tuskegee syphilis study? Lack of informed consent, deception, withholding information, withholding available treatment, putting men and their families at risk, exploitation of vulnerable group of subjects that would normally not want to participate in such a process. So the Tuskegee syphilis study in Macon County, Alabama, has been described as an egregious case of blatant racism. Nevertheless, it has always had its defenders, such as those who rushed to justify it when the study first came to public attention in the 1970s. In the 21st century, physician Robert White and cultural anthropologist Richard Schroeder have proffered a fresh defense, suggesting that the study was neither unethical nor racist. So do you trust experts? See what they say. Let's continue to look at this. So if you use this criterion on voting, where your vote and electoral votes don't change the certain requirements of the interested parties, it means therefore you cannot trust the government. Not at all. You have to look at its action. The word government itself is derived from the Latin verb governor or governare, meaning to control, and the Latin noun ment or mens, meaning mind. Therefore, government means to control your mind. So using this criteria of definition, it is impossible for us to think that the government is there for us. No government is worthy your trust today based on what they have campaigned on, other than what they are doing. Author L.K. Samuels, in his book, Killing History, says politics is the branch of philosophy that defines the principles of a proper social system, including the proper functions of government. Politics addresses the questions: what should people be free to do? Should it be mandatory? This is our own emphasis that we have put in here. What should they be forced to do? We will accept evacuations after natural disasters or where there is imminent danger. Yes, but they should be informed consent. People should be informed about it, not rushed into it. What should they be forcibly forbidden from doing? Harming or experimenting on others, as we have seen on the Tuskegee and the mandatory issues here. And how should government or powers that be establish and enforce such rules of conduct? In other words, politics is essentially about freedom and a force. Therefore, if freedom and a force are not balanced and are used with an evil intent, the political spectrum, whatever it is, using this criterion on political spectrum, you cannot trust any government at all. Weapons, gun control is always followed by genocide. Stalin took guns away from his citizens in 1929 and then murdered 20 million of them when they were defenseless. Pol Pot, same story, took guns away from his citizens, then murdered 2 million of them once they were defenseless. Adolf Hitler, same story, took away guns from his citizens in 1938, then murdered 13 million of them once they were defenseless. Same thing with Mao, took guns away from his citizens from 1935, then murdered 20 million of them once they were defenseless. So there are legal issues when it comes to guns that we need to follow. And we should never forget that self-defense or freedom of choice to bear arms for self-defense or informed consent on food, healthcare, etc. not to be violated. The government that violates this is not to be trusted. Using this criterion on weapons, which government can you trust today? None. Even from the top leaders of the world like JFK. When you listen to what he says here, we shall give you few excerpts.
Ladies and gentlemen, the very word secrecy is repugnant in a free and open society, and we are, as a people, inherently and historically opposed to secret societies, to secret oaths, and to secret proceedings. We decided long ago that the dangers of excessive and unwarranted concealment of pertinent facts far outweighed the dangers which are cited to justify it. And no official of my administration, whether his rank is high or low, civilian or military, should interpret my words here tonight as an excuse to censor the news, to stifle dissent, to cover up our mistakes, or to withhold from the press and the public the facts they deserve to know. For we are opposed around the world by a monolithic and ruthless conspiracy that relies primarily on covert means for expanding its sphere of influence, on infiltration instead of invasion, on subversion instead of elections, on intimidation instead of free choice, on guerrillas by night instead of armies by day. It is a system which has conscripted vast human and material resources into the building of a tightly knit, highly efficient machine that combines military, diplomatic, intelligence, economic, scientific, and political operations. Its preparations are concealed, not published. Its mistakes are buried, not headlined. Its dissenters are silenced, not praised. No expenditure is questioned, no rumor is printed, no secret is revealed.
He goes on to explain that using this criterion on what JFK said about secret societies, which government can you trust today? None. Trust no government, even if you vote for it, even if you fought for it. The same story, Eisenhower, one of the leaders in America, coined the term military-industrial complex to describe how an unholy trinity of the Defense Department, military contractors, large military contractors, and campaign contributions to Congress, to people that go to Congress to make laws in America. This is almost exactly the same thing that's happening all over the earth today. Using this criterion on the arms manufacture of advanced military hardware and its probable use, which government can you trust today? None at all. Let's look at the issue of the American Constitution, which is thought to be the best in the world, although a lot of us do not believe it. They say in their Declaration of Rights in July 1976 on the 4th, we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. The question that you have to focus on is why, when they were writing this same constitution, 1776, that all men are equal, why was slavery still in operation? Why? Using these two criterion and current realities that are happening today in the world, in which the government plays both the roles of giver and taker, of oppressor and liberator, of a health giver and or giving you diseases like in the Tuskegee, which government can you trust? None at all. None at all. Let's look at money. All governments are in debts. You can check this website given here. 2 decades ago, total United States government debt was estimated to sit at $20 trillion. Since then, according to the latest figures by the IMF, the number has ballooned to $69 or $70 trillion with a debt GDP ratio of 82%, the highest totals in human history. Here's the question: who has money in this world to give governments? So when it comes to economics, money, and banking, you cannot trust the government with the money because they are borrowing money from somebody. Which government then can we trust and rely on? None at all. So after all these facts that we have given, what can you do? The first step you have to do is look for the actual truth, not just for what supports your beliefs. Look for the actual truth, not just for what supports your beliefs. Always the criterion to know the truth is the action, is the events, the result, the outcome, what happened, not the theory of what could have happened. Understand that the present moment is the vehicle that is taking us into the future and probably also hiding the past. So we need to look and research on the past. And those who want to control the future and their future are mastering the present moment. So we need to start to work hard to alter our present moment so that our future becomes desirable. How can we do that? By having trust, which is the most important currency in any lasting relationship. Trust in yourself and trust in knowing institutions and evaluating institutions. You must know that governments are untrustworthy. That is your foundation before you do anything concerning what the government tells you. If the government tells you to turn left, don't just turn left, stop and think and research. In times of turbulence and volatility like these days, trust is what holds your sanity. The only government you must seek out and live under is the Mahatic one. When you live under Mahati, you fight till death for your right to live happily. We quote here from one of the most interesting and powerful websites here, given here, amazulu.com. We just we'll read one paragraph here concerning Mahati by Mwalimu K. Bonani Baruti. Mahati speaks to a progressive, generative spirit, to a procreative, cooperative movement, and as a core principle of Mahati, complementarity speaks to two different, qualified, yet intimately interacting beings, forces or things, diligently and continuously working toward a healthy, holistic balance. You go to this website and read all this and study what they say about this Mahatic government. It's very, 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 very important. Many are already experiencing this Mahatic life, even though experienced under the shadows of evil governments. To find out more information about this, get in touch with us using this email, joy@marifado.com, and also visit our website, www.marifado.com. This preacher Rabbi LM Dumizulu saying, subscribe to our channel, Community Hebrew Ethics, and let us develop Mahatic government for our own being. Man, know thyself. Till we meet again, Edupe, Siabonga, Tatenda, thank you, Henko.